Time, We the People is about the moments America spoke to the world and people here in Maine listened. On June 12, 1987, President Ronald Reagan stood near the Berlin Wall and challenged Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev to tear down this wall, a direct call aimed at one of the strongest symbols of Cold War repression. For decades, Berlin had been split in two, West Berlin backed by the U.S. and its allies, and East Berlin under Soviet influence. The wall wasn't just concrete, it represented families separated, freedom restricted, and a world living under constant tension. Why it mattered to Mainers is that the Cold War wasn't distant. Maine communities sent generations into the military, hosted strategic sites, and lived with the same national anxiety about what could happen next. And it still matters because the wall eventually did come down, proving that words, diplomacy, and pressure can help move history. Until tomorrow, I'm Brian Sullivan.